Hello everyone. Gonna be doing an informational video. Try to help out anyone who's been in my position with this FRT. The FRT that I'm talking about is the Mars Trigger FRT for the AK, specifically their version 1. Today we're gonna be working on the VSKA made by Century Arms. Gonna also be using the trigger that came with the gun. I know some people say to use the Romanian one, which would be the single prong. But I honestly haven't had any problem with the double prong. Also, this trigger feels really good to me, so can't really complain about it. We're going to be using this cam. This is the cam that comes in your box from Mars. Pretty standard looking, except for that right there. If you know what I'm talking about, there should be hooks right there. Specifically, I have a good example right here next to me. It should look like this. That piece right here is the same thing, but this one has a hook right there. And all that hook is doing is catching the hammer. So when the hammer goes down, the hook catches it. That's part of your semi-auto function for the gun. With this cam, it just doesn't have that. So that's the only noticeable major difference that I can see. We're going to be putting it into the trigger. That you're going to have this big flat side facing away from the hooks. Make sure that it's all nice and lined up. In the package that comes from Mars, they give you this cool pin. All this pin does is make sure that there is not a lot of wiggle room for when this is fully seated and this pin goes in, so that way it's not just do. You know what I mean? Gonna go ahead and put this trigger down in here, just like that. Boop. I'm gonna just use this because, you know, why not? It's a nice little tool for now. This is the retention bar that came with the Mars trigger, but I'm just using it for the time being to do this. Cool. That was harder than expected. Once those springs are on there like that, go ahead and just put that same pin that I was showing you through the hole. Make sure it goes all the way through. Perfect. Next part is this retention clip. This just holds those pins, this pin and this pin, into place, making sure that you can't pull them out just easily with your thumb. This is the one that was provided by Mars Triggers, the one that came in their box. This one is not the exact one, but the one closest to it that came with the VSKA. The only noticeable difference is the cutout on the bottom. Obviously, this one has a longer, more curved kind of cutout, and this hook. Honestly, this hook is a big part of the FRT system, so make sure to use this and not your old ones. I've seen some people use the old one, and yeah, just use the one that came with it. Also, before I even start putting it in there, you see these, let me move this out of the way. You see this right here? Once your pin is fully seated into the gun, you'll see that little lip, and that retention clip is just gonna sit on that lip right there. Fit the big side into your spring assembly right here, and then put the clip right there, and then it just stops the pin from coming out. Make sure your holes are nice and lined up. Boop, just like that. Cool deal. Put that spring back. Boogie me. Cool. Next part is the safety. This is the safety that came with the VSKA. I do not like using this one because it puts too much pressure on this piece, making it hard to rack the gun, and we'll get to this piece later. So for now, all I'm going to be using is this other safety right here. And this one is different because it has this piece, that nice little backing, and it just holds it in place better, and it doesn't push against it as much, making it easier to cycle the gun. Slip that through there, let that hang down a bit. Make sure that this hole is on the outside, so these parts right here should be facing towards you, and this big part should be facing down, so that little hole should be at the top, just like that. With your retention bar, also because like I was saying, this piece, when it's pushed up against the wall and this piece is connected to it, it didn't have enough room to cycle properly, and it was making it super stiff. So I went ahead and just filed it down, took a little bit of material off at a time, put it in, took a material off, put it in, took material off, put it in, until I had it perfectly. You don't really want to take off a lot of material from this. If you kind of mess with it, you can tell like this will bend super easy. So the less material you take off, the better. For this, I also went ahead and did some cutouts. Not some like cutouts, but I made a little lip in there, made it more flat, so that way when the gun is cycling, it catches properly. Some people file this down right here. I don't really want to file that down at all. It's like a tougher metal. So I went ahead and just did this side, and I made it to where it just, it just meets up like that, creates more surface tension, better resistance, making sure that this actually pulls it back and follows through and doesn't come out as easily. So with that being said, this side with the right angle, or at least mine has a more of a right angle on this side rather than this side. This one's more curved. Just go ahead and put that in there. Like that. Oh, sorry. The other way. And I actually told you guys wrong. This side facing that way. Flat side facing you. Apologize. Just fitting it onto the safety before we put it on. Cool deal. When you're putting this on, so you see that piece, this piece right here, that piece is hitting against this lip, just like that. So when you're putting this piece on, make sure that it's sitting over here and not over here on the other side, because then it's not doing its job. So it needs to be sitting right there, behind that lip part that I was showing you earlier. It's the only major difference on the safety or on the retention clips. And once you have that on the right side of it, just gonna go ahead and put it all together. As so. What is going on here? Give me a moment. Sorry. Oh, just wasn't seated all the way. Cool. With that done, go ahead and put that safety down, locking it into place. Everything is nice and tight. Working perfectly. This piece freely moves. Should freely move. Just like that. There you go. That is working good. And then this rod is facing up, so that way it catches on this part of the bolt when it's coming through. You can imagine it facing like that piece catching on that piece, and it just pulls this back with it. Go ahead and set this down. Oh, also, if it locks up like that, just move this piece forward so that way it allows this trigger to come up, because when it's forward, obviously it's not gonna let those bars come up at all. And that is part of its function. So when it's fully back, the hammer is able to be released. Set that down. This is the VSKA original bolt. Can't really see too much damage on it. Like I said, this has like close to 2,500 rounds on it so far. Really not too much wear and tear on it. Pretty good. Can't really complain about it. There is like obviously spots where it's kind of smoothed out, but it's not that big of a deal. Go ahead and put this in. That. And that is basically all you have to do to get this in there. So the only thing I really did was, I also forgot to mention this plate right here. When you first get this plate, it's kind of bent, like kind of funky bent. I just straightened it out, straightened it to where I needed it, so that way it locked into place, made sure everything locked into place. This bar, I filed it down on the backside that is against the wall of the gun, so that way it runs more smoothly, less friction. That's about, and then the top of the bar, made sure that it had a nice flat surface to connect with, so that way when this pulls back, it pulls the bolt with it. And that is the function of this piece. It's like the main function, honestly. Once that's all in there, go ahead and put the spring back. Oof. This is bad. Come on now. What's going on? It's because I'm on camera. There you go. Anyway, once that's all said and done, function is working properly. I'm gonna put the dust cover back on. All right. So when you hold the trigger down and that hammer comes back, it just follows through now. That's all it does. If you hold the trigger down, I've found that if you hold the trigger down super tight, like you're anticipating, it makes it harder for the gun to function. Also, having a light trigger pull is kind of hard when you're firing rapidly, so I haven't had any thought on how to fix that yet. If someone could, I don't know, point out a thing that I can do or something that I could work on to make that less tight or less hard when you're doing that, I would really appreciate it. Also, this safety is not the correct safety that came with the gun, so it sits kind of high like that. But still serves its function. Won't let the gun do any of its stuff unless it's down. But that is the full install of the Mars trigger FRT version 1. Pretty simple, honestly. I made it at least, I don't know, 300 rounds so far with the FRT. It's holding up sort of good, and I mean sort of good because if we take off this dust cover again, you see that piece right there. There's some indents in there. You can kind of see them. It's gonna be past that little notch right there. Those things at the tip of this color pencil. That is from the bolt hitting it. If I'm holding the trigger down too tight, it hits just like that. And it's hitting it pretty good, honestly. I feel like if I hit it enough times, it's gonna break, and that is obviously right next to that hole. So if that breaks, I'm pretty sure this will break. Just something I noticed. Other than that, it's holding up pretty good. Haven't had any issues with it besides holding it down too tight, which causes it to lock up just like that. If you let the trigger go barely, even like the slightest, it sends it forward. So holding the trigger down too tight seems to be an issue. Also, it not going into full battery. I am holding the trigger down tight again, so it has two things that it does when you hold the trigger down tight. This is the second. Once you hammer's not up yet, but once you push that into full battery, hammer pops up again. That's the main two things that I've run into with this FRT. Kind of annoying. Also kind of hard to fix. I haven't had any ideas on how to fix that yet. If anyone has some ideas, please leave it in the comments for me to look at, so that way I can try to get that fixed. Hope you enjoyed it, or not enjoyed it, at least it helped you out. I know finding a video is kind of hard, going over everything with the gun itself, how to put it together, things that you might have to do, things that are wrong with it. Trying to do a very broad explanation of the FRT. So again, hope you enjoyed it. Hope everyone has a good day. Yeah.